Now, one of the things we're working on today is how to say numbers correctly. So on your place value chart, I want you to make this note. Now, I'm going to write large on mine, but you'd have to write small and squeeze it in so it fits on your paper. So I want you to draw an arrow to the decimal point, and I want you to write on your place value chart that we say and. We don't say point. We don't say dot. We say the word and when we're reading a number. So again, I want you to actually write what I just wrote on your place value chart on your paper as well. If you have a highlighter, go ahead and highlight that as well because that's super important. If you don't have a highlighter, not a big deal. You have it on your paper. That's what we need. Okay, so now let's take a look at what this actually means. So let's say that we had this number right here. Let me give you a number here. Let's say that we had this number right here. Okay, I'm not going to read it because I'm going to teach you how to read it correctly. If I say it, then you already know the answer to it. So here's how we're going to figure out how to read this correctly. We're going to take this number I just wrote, and we're going to write it into our place value chart. Now to do that, it's kind of simple. What you do is you look at where the decimal is. Okay, so here's my decimal right here. And if I look to the left side of it, I have a 7 right next to the decimal. So in my place value chart, here's my decimal in the place value chart. So right next to it, I'm going to write a 7. Okay, so 7. And let's go ahead and put that decimal in as well. Write it again. Okay, so we have 7 and then the decimal. Now if we come back to this number over here, I've got this side done. Now I'm going to look at my decimal again, and to the right side I have a 3. Okay, so over here I'm going to put a 3 to the right side. So now I have my number in there. Now this is how you use the place value chart to read it correctly. What you're going to do is you're going to just read everything on the left side. Now I don't have anything over here, so there's nothing to read. So here, this is just the number 7. And then what do we say for the decimal? Oh, we say and. So we have 7 and then you just read everything over here. Now the only thing here is this 3. So we say 3, and then our last thing that we say is the place value above it, so tenths. So if we put it all together, we have 7 and 3 tenths. So that's 7 and 3 tenths. So this is what it looks like in word form. So what I'm circling here, this is the word form. This part right here that I'm circling is the standard form. So these are two different forms of this same number. So let's take a look at another example. And I know that I'm going quickly here, but remember, you have the ability to pause this video and also go back and rewatch parts of this video. And you should use those abilities. So don't fall behind and then say, oh, he's going too fast. No, hit the pause button and skip back a few seconds. That's the nice thing about distance learning, is you get to rewatch it as many times as you need to. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. So now we have this new number. So the first thing we're going to do in order to come up with the correct reading for this is we're going to write it into our place value chart. So you should be writing this into your place value chart. So when I look at this, here's my decimal. I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal in my place value chart. So there's my decimal right there. And if I come back over here to the number, I notice that on the left side I have a 2 and then a 2 right next to each other. So I have 22 right there is how you could say that. And so I'm going to go over here. I have a 2 and then another 2. Okay, and now I'm done with the left side, so now I'm going to look at the right side, and on the right side of the decimal I have 3 and then 4, so I'm going to fill those in. 3 and then 4. Okay, so now to read this correctly, what you do is you read everything on the left side of the decimal. So everything on the left side of the decimal, well, that's just 22. So we say 22, and what do we say for the decimal? Oh, that's right, we say and. So we have 22 and then we read everything on the right side. We have 34. 34 what? Well, we just look at the top wherever it ended, hundredths. So if we put it all together, we have 22 and 34 hundredths. Okay, and here's your word form. So we have 22 and 34 hundredths. Notice the and matches up with the decimal. On the left side, we have 22, just like we do down here, 34 here, and it ended in the hundredths place. That's how I got the TH on that hundredths there. Okay, one more example for this video. So now let's try this number right here. Okay, I want you to actually let me keep going. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. So remember to fill this in. Now our goal is to read this number correctly. So to do that, we're going to use our place value chart. So you should be writing this in your place value chart. So let's get this in there. So let's start with the decimal. Okay, I got my decimal. I know my decimal always goes right here in between the ones and the tenths place. That's where the decimal always goes. Okay, so I got it in there. Then if I look at the left side, right next to the decimal, I have a 7. So I'm going to write a 7 right next to the decimal. Oh, that's not a very good 7. Let me redo that. Okay, and then next to the 7, I have a 1 and then a 0. 1, 0. Okay, and last I have an 8 over there. Okay, so now I have the left side done. Now I need to do the right side. I need to make it look exactly like it is here. Okay, so I'm going to go 0 right next to the decimal, and then 3, and then 5. Okay, what I want you to do right now, I want you to pause the video. That's right, pause the video, because I want you to try it on your own. So pause the video, think in your head, how are you going to read this number correctly? And then after you have an idea in your head, unpause the video and you can continue watching and you'll see the answer. But I want you to try it on your own. So right now, pause the video, think in your head, how are you going to read this using the methods that we've already talked about? Okay, hopefully you pause the video and tried it on your own. So using the same method we used on the previous 2 examples, what you're going to do is you're going to look on the left side of the decimal and read everything that's there. So I'm going to read this number. Now, if I'm reading this number correctly, I'm not going to say, hey, this is 8017. No, that's not how you read numbers. That's not how you were taught in previous grade to read numbers. So this number right here is 8017. So 8017. And then what do we say for the decimal? Oh yeah, we say and. So we have 8017 and then we read everything over here. Now when you're reading this number right here, you would not read this as 035. You would just read this as 35. So if we put this together, we have 8017 and 35, and then we look up here, thousandths. It ended in the thousandths place, so that's what we say. That's our very last word that we say. So put it together, 8017 and 35 thousandths. And here's your word form of that. We have 8017 and, that's the decimal. Remember, and is your decimal. 35 thousandths. Notice the TH. I always underline it when I'm teaching it because it's super important. If I forgot the TH, that would be a huge problem. And that is sometimes how they try to trick you on multiple choice things. So always pay attention to that. If it's a decimal number, it should be ending in TH. So that's how you use a place value chart to read numbers correctly.